transfer window, we have been saying that they are trying to strengthen in the number 9 position. They do want to bring in a striker. They have explored the conditions of a deal for a number of strikers, including Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins, Victor Gyökeres of Sporting, who, of course, is on his way to Arsenal, Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea, though his price could be really prohibitive. And interestingly, RB Leipzig's Benjamin SESKO, who's been linked not only with Arsenal, but with Manchester United as well for the last 3 seasons or so. Now, the interesting thing about this is the director of recruitment at Manchester United is a gentleman called Christopher Vivell. He knows SESKO really, really well because he actually signed SESKO as a 16-year-old when he was at Red Bull Salzburg. So,
what about the other outgoings that we're expecting at Manchester United?
Yeah, well, look, with Manchester United, we've known all summer that there were 5 players who were told to keep away from pre-season training, to search for a future away from Old Trafford. 1 now has gone in Marcus Rashford joining Barcelona. The other 4 on your screen behind you still remain. Let's start with Alejandro Garnacho, just 21 years old. He's got a contract until 2028. Huge potential. Argentina international already, but Ruben Amorim has made it clear the future isn't for him at Old Trafford. Now, we know Chelsea were interested in the player and are still interested in the player, but they have signed a player like Jamie Gittins, very similar mould of a player. Doesn't totally rule Chelsea out, but likely scenario if Chelsea come back in is that they sell some of their current crop of players. Aston Villa, another club, remaining interested. Thing with Garnacho is that Manchester United signed him for very little as a youngster. So regardless of what profit they make, it's going to be big profit, which they can then use to reinvest in the squad. So even if, say, they valued this player at around like 60, 70 million at the start of the year, and maybe that's dropped to, say, 40 million pounds, it's still, they'll see it as pretty good business. So Alejandro Garnacho is one of those players still surplus to requirements.
if you look at United's movements in this transfer window so far, the players that they brought in the forward areas, Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo, Ruben Amorim wants them to play in the 2 number 10 roles. But significantly, they are both players who have had significant Premier League experience compared to some of the other signings that they made in the forward areas in recent seasons, the likes of Joshua Zirkzee, Rasmus Højlund and Anthony. You just get the impression that maybe Manchester United feel that they need to have learned lessons from what's happened in the past and bring in players who are ready to go in this transfer window. Exactly. But look, the potential recruitment of a striker, of a number 9, that is likely to happen later in the window, if at all. I'm not saying that is definitely going to happen, but United definitely in the market to bring one in.
Right, talking of strikers, next we're going to discuss Arsenal as...
At United, but he's not the only one, is he?
Yeah. James mentioned about Garnacho and Chelsea. Well, we know that Jadon Sancho was at Chelsea last season on loan. They didn't take up the obligation to buy, so Manchester United received a £5 million penalty fee from Chelsea because they didn't take up the obligation. United still want to release Jadon Sancho. They want to sell him on a permanent deal, if at all possible. Dialogue is open between Juventus and Manchester United over the potential signing of Jadon Sancho, as it is between Jadon Sancho's representatives and Juventus. Now, Juventus are working on sales before they can do a deal for Sancho, because their big priority in this window was to sign Francisco Conceição from Porto. They've effectively done that now, but to bring in someone like Sancho, one or both of Timothy Weah and Nicolas Gonzalez would have to be sold for them to be able to go into the market again to bring in someone like Jadon Sancho. If it doesn't happen, because there's still a big doubt whether he will end up at Juventus, there are a number of other clubs in Europe who are interested in Jadon Sancho. But Manchester United want to get this deal done sooner rather than later.
He's not the only one. Anthony's another one that United would rather sell. They want to sell him. Remember, he went on loan to Real Betis last season. Performed really well. Performed well in that Conference League final defeat, albeit to Chelsea too. Actually had a promising spell, showed signs of what sort of player he was. But this is a tricky one for Manchester United. It's a player they paid £82 million for. He's still got 2 years left of his contract. They know the future's not at Old Trafford for him.